Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District. August 20th, 2020 at 5:40 p.m. We have the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh, we need to do the announcement about the live stream. We do that. The announcement for the live stream.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This meeting is being live streamed, so if anybody on the other end of the stream has questions they'd like put to the board, they can type them into their system and they will be forwarded on to us. So, we have roll call, please.
Rita Eckerman,
Present.
Kim Brady,
Present.
Peter Crowe,
Yes, I'm here.
Kevin Bell,
Here.
Dave Brooks,
He is absent.
He's absent.
Okay, so the approval of the minutes of 7/16/20, our July meeting. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. Is there any discussion of the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do we have any citizen participation? No? Okay. Staff presentation.
For the month of July, we responded to 113 calls for service as compared to last year when we responded to 71 calls. That's an increase of 42 calls
Wow.
this year over last year. The breakdown, 23 fire-related calls, 71 medical, 7 motor vehicle crashes, 10 water or surf rescues, 1 lift assist, and 1 other assist. July 2020, that's 113. Again, from July 2019 was 71. Year-to-date is 608 calls. At that pace, if we can continue that, we're estimating we'll respond to over 1,000 calls this year.
Back up to what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Question on the water calls. I know a lot of them are disabled boats, things like that.
Right.
Are we collecting insurance information if they have it?
We are collecting insurance information. The gentleman, his name's Damien with Recovery, that the district had used in the past. We've resurrected that agreement with them, and so we'll be billing accordingly.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how you did it in the past. If it's one of our taxpayers, do we just bill the insurance and not them, or how?
Correct. And there's always that fine line, and if they don't have insurance, do we bill them anyway? Because we don't want someone to sit out there and not make the call because
Right.
they don't have coverage and get sucked out into the jaws. So-
Well, and we're not worried about it. That's gonna be after the fact anyway, you know.
Right. Well, but the word would get around.
Yeah.
So I think when we did it before, we only billed insurance. We didn't bill individuals.
Okay.
The same with the accident, billing for fire apparatus at car accidents.
Okay. And we have the historical data they sent us as to what we have billed over, in years gone by, so.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised one of the marinas hasn't
Set up their own towboat
set
or
up their own
something.
towboat, and I mean, they could make some decent money off it. They're there anyway. But it would make more sense for them to do it than us.
And the crews, as you know, we've been getting out doing that, and I send you pictures that we get. Our response times have been much improved from what they have in the past, but it'll be even better once our partnership with the port, and they get to get the boathouse and everything constructed.
Yeah. That's the whole reason we have the boat is because they used to try to tow with those things. And those things don't tow boats.
Yeah.
They'll make them move, but it's really hard on them, so. Okay. Volunteer report?
What can we tell from the volunteer report? We have the same amount that we've had in the last couple of months with some new red shirts walking around. You'll see them. And they've been going through the process, getting red checks and everything. We have one young lady that has been working with the farmer's market, and she is the salesman and a half. And I don't have numbers there, I might have that more than I do, but she's done very well. T-shirts, masks, and everything, and several fire extinguisher appointments. She's good for that, and she's been on that. On calls, volunteers were way down. Not many of us, which is normal. This time of year, it's even more normal. Recruiting, but with our standards of being training, kind of turns some people away before they ever start. And we're kind of going to, between Eric, myself, and the rest of the volunteers, we're going to let them know what you're stepping into, what side of the rope do you want to be on.
Yep.
We want to be support. Got plenty of places. Our new coordinator, Wendy, for the, we don't call them auxiliary, she's the support coordinator. So she has a lot of projects that she works, and the person wants to be in the support group. We're going to work with Wendy if they want to be in the attack or combat group, and they're going to be working primarily with Eric and myself and getting trained up. We're doing well. We're meeting the need.
And then the challenge there is, Rick mentioned, the volunteers are expected and must meet the same standards that the career staff make. Same number of training hours, same number of, CEUs for licensure, for EMS certifications, everything. So it's a nationwide struggle.
Yeah, that wasn't there in my day. It was just if you were an EMT, you had to meet the same requirements, but not for firefighters. Okay, financial.
We ended the month of July with $756,840 in the account. Being it's a new fiscal year, we haven't exceeded the budget in any areas.
I would hope not.
Thank goodness.
Which is a plus, right? One area to note is vehicle repairs continue to be pretty high. $10,995 we booked in July of this year. The pumper rig cap seal for $7,429 was the bulk of that. And then the wiring repairs for unit 7401. And Generac service for the choke engine. That was $550. The rest of it is small pieces for hardware, charger, and such. So, beyond that, there's really not much to report at this point. We did pay the lifeguard membership fees for 23, and that was $1,242 for a year. That's all I've got.
Brett, are you happy with where we're at?
Well, I'm a pretty frugal guy, but I mean, you gotta run a department. I would say yes.
Good,
I'd say so.
good, excellent.
And Gary and I have a pretty good working relationship.
Yeah,
He and I confer a lot, communicate a lot about budget. So yeah, I don't have anything to be concerned about.
good, excellent.
We have a, well, actually, why don't we go ahead? Do I have a motion to accept the finance report?
I'll make a motion to accept the financial report as presented.
Okay,
And a second.
second. Any more comment on it? Or, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Do I have a motion to pay the bills?
Make a motion to pay the bills. I haven't seen it yet, though.
No, they're over here.
Oh, okay, you guys got it. I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Okay. Have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we have a resolution authorizing changes in the signers on our bank account. We have to do it, the bank has to have a copy of it and a copy of our minutes for tonight. So I'm going to read it. Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District Resolution number 2020-21. Resolution authorizing bank account signer changes. Whereas the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District has authoritative power to create and maintain checking accounts, equipment, levy funds, reserve funds, etc. to maintain operation of the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District hereby authorizes the following bank account changes for the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District. Remove former board member Eric Stafford as an account signer from Oregon Coast Bank account, checking account, operating account. Do I want to read these numbers into the minutes?
No. No.
Okay. Number 2, Oregon Coast Bank Public Funds Money Market Account, General. Number 3, Oregon Coast Bank Public Funds Money Market Account, Building Property Reserve Fund. Number 4, Oregon Coast Bank Public Funds Money Market Account, Equipment Reserve Fund. Add board member Peter Karlik as an account signer for Oregon Coast Bank account, checking account, operating account, Oregon Coast Bank Public Funds Money Market Account, General, Oregon Coast Bank Public Funds Money Market Account, Building Property Reserve Fund, and Oregon Coast Bank Public Funds Money Market Account, Equipment Reserve Fund. Approved and adopted by the Board of Directors of the Central Oregon Coast Fire and Rescue District on this 20th day of July.
What is today's date?
Today's-
20th.
Oh, 20th day of August,
Yeah.
2020.
Everybody's in their own room.
Okay. I have a motion to approve the resolution,
I move to approve resolution 2020-21.
2020-21. Okay, a second?
Second.
Okay, are any questions about this? It's pretty straightforward. Just one off, one on. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Do you want to print a new one before I sign this with the July's off of there and the August on here?
I can do that, sure.
Okay.
Do we have to go swing by Oregon Coast Bank and sign, probably?
Yeah.
I will, yeah.
I think we all probably have to. Do we
No,
all-
I asked Linda that because I thought everybody had to re-sign the card.
Yeah, I
And
thought that's
she-
what happened last time.
and she said no, that if you remember last time she showed up in the meeting with the cards.
Yeah.
But she said no, with the board minutes and the resolution that
Right.
we can delete.
And the
Eric
resolution only named the one individual instead of all of us, so.
Yeah,
Cool.
okay, good. Okay, did that. We have any correspondence, Chief?
I hinted a couple things out. You actually went to Yahats and Chief Petrick emailed it up to me. It's a handwritten note there from the structure fire we had over in the Bay Shore area.
Yeah, I moved it, it's right here. Yeah, I guess he made copies for everyone, it's just one sheet.
Yeah, I made copies for
They're-
everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He was very, very grateful for the service.
Okay, so now which file was this?
Hillcrest Court.
It was Kirk's.
Right. Oh, okay. Now I get it.
But, and it was a great team effort. It was us and Seal Rock and Yahats and Newport and Pacific West Ambulance. Cedar shake shingles, cedar siding on the house, pine trees, and foliage and shrubbery all around the house, and the crews did a great job containing it to the structure that was involved and kept it from spreading.
This is in Bayshore?
Yes. On Fircrest Court.
Cause of the fire?
Still under investigation. I've been over there with the State Fire Marshal's Office, the Lincoln County Fire Investigation Team, and then also the insurance fire investigators, and we've dug through it and sifted through it and have some theories, but it's, you know, it's undetermined at this point.
Okay.
But no one was hurt.
Good.
Yeah.
And then I have a nice thank you note from Monica with Pacific West Ambulance. She's our marketing community relations manager. Just a friendly reminder, you're all so appreciated. I miss seeing all of you, your smiling faces, well, most of the time. I don't know what you meant by that. Thank you to everyone, and know that you know how much you're appreciated. From all of us at Pacific West Ambulance. And hi, Jamie. Hi to the crew. Hi, Gary. And then Monica was down today to visit us. But of course, the COVID is really limiting what some of our interactions. I think that's all I have for correspondence.
This SDAO thing, the board member,
Yeah, that came, and I just made copies for everybody. That's, I think, Rita, if I'm not mistaken, at the last conference, that's their little academy and stuff, isn't it?
Right.
you know, I almost, because I'm also an agent for special districts, I got a copy of the academy stuff, but it wasn't specific like this one for fire.
Right, and then what you can do, Tim, is go onto their website, and then you can do everything on their website.
Yeah, well, I almost signed up for the other one,
Oh, okay.
and I'm glad I got lazy and didn't do it, because this is directed at fire board members, not the general
Right.
board members. So,
And I think I've already got some of the
credits,
credits
you probably do.
towards this, because they had me sign in at the last two conferences, and, you know, when I went to the different presentations and modules and so on, so.
Yeah. Well, the
I
thing
can
about-
practically teach the ethics one,
I'll
but,
bet. Well, tell me, I get 3 years.
you know.
The interesting thing about it, it's about 4 levels. And it's self-paced. So you can do it 5. Board member basics, statutory responsibilities, fire service, risk management, human resources. And you can pick and choose what you want to do. You know, it would be a great idea if everybody did the board member basics. Just because it never hurts to have a refresher of it. The statutory responsibilities is another really good one. But the thing I like, see, this wasn't in the one I looked at, collective bargaining with firefighters, measuring emergency service delivery performance, overview of regulatory agencies and cooperative service arrangements, which is very apropos to us right now. The risk management, I think, is probably the same for every district, within reason. I mean, obviously, not every district has people running into burning buildings, but, and human resources. I think there's great things there for everybody, and you can do it at your own pace. You don't have to show up at 5 o'clock every Thursday afternoon, or log in at every Thursday afternoon. So I'm going to do it and just see how, you know.
Well, let's see, you've got 3 years to complete the requirements for the bronze certificate.
Yeah,
So do we want to have a contest as to how soon we can, who can reach gold first?
Can you reach gold before your time on the board?
Yeah, a little.
Well, it says there are no time requirements to achieve silver and gold levels. However, the bronze level certificate must be earned within 3 years before they can be awarded.
That's what I like about it, is I'm not tying myself into one evening every week, or, I can do it on my pace. If I want to get up on Saturday morning and go through a module, I can do it.
It also might encourage some other members of the board to attend, assuming they ever have them again, some of the conferences. Because, you know, those do count as credit towards the certification.
Yeah. So, I don't know, it's something, I hope everyone will read through it and see if it speaks to them. Okay, old business, anything Tidewater related?
Yes, we have Tidewater update. As Dave and Rita remember, we went to the county and talked to them about things. We've had the phase 1 completed, and I give the board the information about the phase 2 that the geotech company had recommended. And then there was, we've kind of been tag teaming the Lincoln County planning and zoning. So I'll ask Chief Mason to speak to that, because he, well, I'll let you, we've got new information, which is good information.
Yeah, so, realtors running that, kind of muffled everybody. So, I started initially by talking with the county and trying to explain what our position was and what we're trying to do. Long story short, we're talking to them about that we want to acquire the building as a fire station owned by the district, and then conduct repairs to the building to make it operational as a fire station again, fully functioning. They said that the county has no requirements other than acquiring the permits for the repairs, that we need to do any phase 1, phase 2, anything above just the general permits. So they recommended that I contact DEQ to try to find out if there was any kind of level of requirement for phase 1, phase 2 coming out of DEQ. So I've been talking with DEQ. I actually brought a couple of emails that I've had back and forth with DEQ, but again, to summarize, we are not being required to do the phase 2. It is merely a recommendation that we do the phase 2 just for our own knowledge of the property and what's on the property. I went through the phase 1 report with DEQ, and they specifically looked at what's called a REC, or basically a recognized environmental condition. And there were 3 RECs that were identified in the phase 1, and they were all pretty much assumptions by the consultants that we hired to come in and do the phase 1. And they were that the building may have been used in the past as a vehicle maintenance bay, that because there was a pipe that went from the vehicle bay to the gas station that may have transferred fluids to the gas station, and that fluids from vehicles in the maintenance bay may have leaked in the maintenance bay. But nobody's been able to verify that, so I sent an email this afternoon to DEQ, basically getting a confirmation from them that there's no law, no ORS, no requirement by DEQ to do any level of phase 1, phase 2 testing for this property for us to acquire and then fix it and use it as an operational fire station. They've already stated in 2 emails that there's no requirements. I'm just at this point getting one final confirmation from them based off of everything we've talked about. And I'm pretty confident they're going to go back and say, we're not requiring you to do this.
That's excellent news, Chief.
So the phase 1, usually for purchasing, a lender will want you to do a phase 1. Just to show that the property, because you're loaning on it, that you know what's on the property. And so we've completed the phase 1, and
Yep.
used any kind of level of EPA couple months ago. And so we're covered from an EPA standard, just as recommendations. And so, I think we're good to go at this point. Like I said, I'm gonna get that one final confirmation, but I've already got 2 confirmations from the EPA that they're not requiring it. So,
And we think that it's the geotech companies, you know, out of being overly cautious, you know, they don't want us to purchase something that it ends up being a EPA Superfund hazmat cleanup site or something, but as long as we know which the best we can determine, everything's good.
Well, I think that with the DEQ sign-off that the previous one, when the gas station was decommissioned and the tanks were removed and then they signed off on it, I think that's good enough to stand on. And apparently the county thinks so too. Good. I think that's excellent news.
Yeah, so we're not gonna ask them again, because,
No. There's been enough asking.
but that's, and then, so for executive session, we do, we've got a section there for property acquisition and things to discuss with the board regarding
Good.
that, so.
So I guess my question then is, we're talking repairs, remodel. Can we take it down to just one wall standing and then put the new metal building up around it?
So we have to go out for bids.
Right.
Because of the cost of the repairs. I don't think we have to do it even to that drasticness. The upper walls above the concrete definitely need to be reinforced by at least 2x6 or larger. They're currently 2x4. If we exchange those walls out, that should give the structural support that we could actually put a truss roof on top of it and put a metal roof on it and then recycle thing and bring it back into a working condition. There is one beam that needs to be replaced and raised because the fire trucks that used to be stored in there were much smaller.
Yep.
And the fire trucks of today are much larger. And that beam is actually the header for the original bays from way back when. And so we're only able to back trucks in to that header, and then either the cab or the top of the hose cover area starts to come in contact with that beam. And so we want to raise that up and make sure that we could put those vehicles all the way into the building as far as we need to, especially if it's a longer vehicle like 7202, that may need to go in there someday.
Now the part with the bay has concrete block walls, does it not? Cinder block? So
Yeah.
those would have to be replaced, right?
I think we need to have those looked at to see if they can put rebar or reinforcement like going on concrete and rebar
Okay.
before we decide if we're going to replace those all the way. And that'll just be part of the bid. They'll have to come in there and tell us because I'm not a licensed contractor. I'm just going off of what I've been told so far.
Well, we have an engineering report on it, right? The guy that said you can't put wasn't he an engineer?
I mean,
Said we couldn't put the peak roof on it because the walls wouldn't support it?
right, yeah. But
Well,
if
and
we
that was-
if we reinforce it though, I mean,
And that was using the existing 2x4 studs, and so if we go back, because all those, there's water damage on most of those, and so by replacing all of those from the cinder block on up with 2x6 wall studs, then you would have the support needed for the trusses.
And I would still reinforce the wall because it probably isn't going to take that much to do it.
Oh yeah, I think that's a great idea. You could firm that wall, those concrete block walls right up.
So this is kind of the first step, acquire the building, get it in our name, because it's, fire station, and then get it repaired, get it back to functional status. We can then go down and have it surveyed and then put in for a grant to the state to get a seismic upgrade in the next couple of years. And then that's going to be even more reinforcement for the building. They're going to probably come in and take out some of the columns and replace them with steel columns, and they're going to have to drive pylons down into the ground to get bedrock. So, and that'll all be done off of a grant at that point when we get to that phase. But right now, we need to get it back to a working function fire station.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to put some communications equipment in there, but right now, it's not secure enough to do that.
And one of the questions that came up several times said, how long has it been a fire station? And that's,
Since the beginning of time.
It's always been a fire
It's always been a
station.
fire
station.
but I mean, that's, yeah, I know it was the original Tidewater Fire Department before they joined the fire district, but like, you know,
It was never used as a garage. I don't know where they got that information.
and again, it was the guy that came out and did the survey, just based on his experience, Dave, he was looking, well, you know, in my experience, when I see, you know, a drain pipe like this, that generally means they had this or that, well, okay, that's,
I mean, the report flat out says, we believe it could have been, not this was used for these historical data as a maintenance purpose. It was very assumptive. So I sent, the DEQ has the report, and they've already reviewed it, and so just that last email I sent, just said, hey, these sound more like assumptions. I was, you know, I remember overviewing it in board meetings prior, that it's always been a fire station. I don't believe this has ever been used as a garage. You know?
No, the garage work was always done on that center building over there. That there was a lift inside of there,
Right.
and then came the garage, the gas station.
And we can still, you know, phase 2 is still an option later when we do the seismic. We can then move forward on doing a phase 2, because they will have to do a geographical phase 2, you know, trying to find where the bedrock is. So they're either going to have to drill, and so we could have them go through, and we could also do phase 2 at the same time.
Can that be part of the
part of the grant.
earthquake grant? Yeah, yeah. That would help a whole lot.
Yeah. Because at that point, they are going to have to do some excavation when they do upgrade the seismic, and that's when they're going to get into soil if there is something wrong with the soil.
It's, from my estimation and looking at it, it's very solid ground up there. A good indicator of that is that concrete slab that's poured. There's not a single crack in that. Indicates stability in the ground. It's there and been there for a long time.
So I think once we get to the executive session, we will have more discussions on how to.
Okay.
Good. Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
New business, fire apparatus maintenance and equipment condition.
The board had asked last meeting, what, you know, can you do a breakdown of what we've been spending on engine 7201, bless you, in particular. And so we, Chief Mason, we have got a little PowerPoint presentation here to kind of share with you. And you also have copies of the PowerPoint and everything, so you can kind of follow along. So Jamie and I are going to tag team this.
Okay, you might have to turn some of the lights off or, so it's a short presentation, mostly focused on the 7201, which is our first out vehicle, which I'll explain that in a little bit in the presentation. And it also captures some current data on what's our current fleet of Type 1 engines and what's our call volume. We kind of talked about that earlier, but we did some forecasting based on current numbers. So the purpose of the presentation is to inform the board of directors of the current status for the first out apparatus, and how much we're spending on the cost, how the maintenance on it has affected our service delivery overall for the community. We want to develop a determination on how to address these increasing costs financially and to the community through service delivery by either maintaining the engine 7201 or looking at other progressive options of what to do. So this presentation's got just a few sections. What's our call volume, our current inventory, what have we spent on 7201 in the last 30 days versus the last 3 years, some why engine 7201, some why are we focusing on engine 7201, what does our future planning look like, and then what direction can we get from the board of directors, and then kind of wrap it up with a summary. So call volume, basically as we look at last year we were at 783 calls. This year, including mutual aid, not just specifically Central Coast calls, but mutual aid to Newport and yachts and so on, we're sitting at, last week we were sitting at 620 calls, with an additional 420 calls estimated by the end of the year, just using the 620 average that we've done over the last so many months. So we're estimating somewhere in the area of 1,000 calls for service for this year. And I'm going to guess that that's probably going to continue to be going up. So that's just my guess. So that's an average of 3 emergencies per day. Now, average means that, for instance, if you take this last couple days, we've had a day where we had 6 calls, and we had a day where we had 11 calls. So that's just an average spread out over the whole 300 some odd days, 365 days. So our current Type 1 engine fleet is our newest engine, the 7201. It was 2001. It's stationed here. And these replacement costs came from Rosenbauer Apparatus. I got a good working relationship with Jonathan, so I called him up and just kind of said, hey, cookie cutter engines, what are we looking at right now? And so these are the costs. So replace 7201 with a brand spanking new engine, just off the shelf, cookie cutter, nothing customized, looking at about $543,000. The Spartan out at Tidewater, because it's the same type of engine, it's the same cost. The engine 7202 is higher because that engine is actually a combination engine tender, so that's why that cost is higher. And then 7401, the reason that that's a lower cost is because that's actually a commercial chassis, and so those come down in price, but also in safety features in quite a few areas as well. I referenced 1901 for NFPA. It's the vehicle standard for fire apparatus, and it quotes in there that it's recommended that apparatus over 15 years old that have been properly maintained and that are still in serviceable condition be placed in reserve status. It's also recommended that if the apparatus are not maintained to the current applicable NFPA 1912, which is mostly safety features, or that is over 25 years old, it should be replaced. Now, 7201 is not 25 years old, but it's getting pretty close. It's definitely over 15. And that comes from National Fire Association Standard 1901, page 195. So, in the last 30 days, we've had some pretty significant repairs on 7201. That doesn't mean that every month is going to come out to this kind of a total. It just happened to be a pretty rough 30 days for the engine. You know, like we said earlier, a $7,000 repair on the cab seal, which was a proprietary piece. You can only get it from one place. We don't have costs on what it's going to cost us to fix the generator yet. It's out being assessed right now to determine how much it's going to cost us. So the prices are actually going to go up once we get that in. We did have an engine overheat that didn't cost us anything because Eric was able to test it and do some fixes on site to get it remedied. However, it did overheat during the middle of a response to a cardiac patient, and therefore the crew had to cancel their response, return to the station, and get another vehicle to go to the response, which resulted in a delay. Luckily, myself and Eric were already headed that way in the medic unit and able to get on scene without a delay. So we got lucky on that one. We've had 2 broken valves on the pump panel. No cost yet because we've been able to put them back into place. However, they are going to eventually have to be replaced because it did rip the threads off of those valves. So it's just kind of a temporary fix for now. Our light bar had intermittent inoperability on the lights, which is a major safety factor for code-free driving. So we had to replace the light bar, and that was $3,500 plus the personnel hours to get it installed, which hasn't even been installed yet. And it just recently went through a DOT inspection where it had multiple replacements on some of the, like the water separator and a couple other components, in addition to the normal replace filters that you replace when you do oil changes, and et cetera. So altogether, it'll be over $11,000, but so far we can account for roughly $11,900 in the last 30 days to keep that engine up and running for calls. When you look at the last 3 years, and I'm not going to go through all of these, like I said, the stack of work orders that came from Fleet has been passed around, but there's been some significant replacements to the engine mechanically. Some things, you know, tires get old, you've got to renew them. That's not necessarily that they failed, it's just an age thing. So overall, 22,713 just in work orders that we've been able to get from Fleet as a recapture of the last couple of years.
Plus the 30-day.
Plus
So we're
the
looking
30
more
days.
like
So you're at
33,000.
34,000, yeah. So why engine 72.1? What does first out mean? So a first out vehicle for a emergency response agency is the vehicle that can respond to a variety of calls without having to change its capabilities. So in this case, 7201 carries everything from medical equipment to very advanced extrication equipment for working on motor vehicle accidents, down to I was at the dock and I threw my crab pot in the water and I cut my hand open and I just need some bandages. It doesn't have to go back to the station and exchange out vehicles or equipment to go from very, very minor call to very, very major call. It can function fully on a structure fire, it can function fully on a car fire, it can function fully on a cardiac call. The only thing that it can't do that we have to go back to the station for is when we got to go in the water, we got to get the boat. It doesn't float.
Yeah.
So
And I've received a lot of questions from citizens and some board members, well, okay, why are you taking that great big truck to all these medical calls? Well, and like Chief Mason said, if we're 15 miles upriver and then on a medical call and a pickup, and then we get a house fire in Peters subdivision, we got nothing to fight fire with. If we get a motor vehicle crash on 34, we got nothing to pry people out of the cars with. So there's a method to our madness there. And yes, it costs more to run it, but in the long run, this is our big toolbox. It carries all the tools we need for any type of emergency we might encounter.
Yep. So
7201, just remind the board, you purchased it in August of 2007 for a cost of $250,000. So it was 6 years old at the time, now it's 19 years old.
Well, my only objection is that's our war horse. That's our number one machine that we take out and that do structure fires. That's the baby we use. And it's getting the crap beat out of it going to all these calls. And it's showing in the maintenance of the vehicle. I would prefer that we keep that rig in reserve, so to speak, and use some of the other rigs to go on minor calls, lifts and things like that.
Well, if it's in town, we do, but if it's up Highway 34 or over in Seal Rocks District, then we will take the engine just so we are able to, because that's our only crew we have.
Well, I understand, using it for a stop in the road, like if you've got a car wreck or something, it's a great thing to save the people from getting smashed up. It's out there. I think that's a great idea for those reasons. But for lifts and things like that, and small things, it's just like, why are we beating our equipment up?
yeah. And it goes back to the example right there, you know, if we travel 12 miles upriver in a Dodge pickup to pick somebody up off the floor and get them back in bed at 2 a.m. in the morning. And then at 2:10 in the morning, we get tapped out for a structure fire literally a mile further up the highway. That pickup's now going to have to go back 12 miles into town to get the engine and then travel back 13 miles upriver to get to the structure fire. That level of delay is the difference between us getting on scene and being able to provide rescue at that house and us getting on scene and having to do a recovery at that house.
But the percentages show, even in this last month, that 71 of the calls were medical calls and 20-some were a fire.
Yep.
And that's true, but we have to be prepared, I mean, for the worst case scenario. And case in point, several years ago, and some of the board will remember this, we're up Risley Creek Road on a medical emergency early in the morning. And while we're up there, we get a structure fire call on Exton Creek Road. Well, it was a structure fire. Unfortunately, the people got out of it, but there was a significant delay leaving Grizzly Creek, coming back, and Steel Rock's engine actually arrived before we did, because we had to go back to Walmart to pick up a fire truck.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, the similar thing happened, not here, somewhere else I use for example, where a person that called in 911 for difficulty breathing, barely conscious. Turns out when the first unit arrived, it was a medical rig, just carrying medical bags, not even carrying an extinguisher. And the person was having difficulty breathing because their house was on fire and it was filling full of smoke. And so the first unit gets on scene and says, this is not a difficulty breathing, this is a structure fire. And then had to turn around and go get equipment so they could go in and do it done. And while we can't predict when the next structure fire is going to be, the most recent structure fire that we've had, which was the one up on Fir Crest we gave the letter for, the reason that we were able to stop it at the roof line and prevent it from traveling down into the house was because we were able to get there right away with the engine and deploy lines and get water on it right away. And if there's a delay of 5 minutes, that could be the difference between us getting there and stopping it where it's at and then progressing through the majority of the house. Now, these are a lot of assumptions, but it also comes with back into experience with fighting fire for 20 years.
And these are not, this is not the Gary and Jamie, hey, this is our idea of the way to do it. This is a nationwide, this is what the
Oh, I understand. That's, I mean, this is
best practices for fire department.
This is our premier engine, and we're really beating the crap out of it. Using it, I mean, that's what it's designed to do, but 20 years old, it's like, you know, we're looking at more and more maintenance issues onto it.
Right.
Couldn't some of these others be shifted over to other rigs for medical calls?
And we do try to use some due diligence on this. You know, we have multiple locations that we flagged the driveways for having to take 7212 or brush rig because the engine just can't fit on that road.
Yeah.
It's a little tiny gravel road, barely get a passenger car, let alone a big fire truck.
Right.
So we do take the best vehicle we possibly can when we know what we're getting into. Sometimes we just don't know what we're getting into.
And then we base it on the type of call. So if it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we have 6 people at the fire station, we'll put 2 people in a pickup and send them up on the medical call or the lift assist. But if it's 2 o'clock in the morning, the 2 people got in the engine to go because they are the
Oh, I'm not objecting to you going. I'm just objecting to the rig getting beat up.
Well, I think part of it too is we may be sacrificing slightly our truck because we don't have the personnel. If we had more personnel where we would have other people, you know, here at the station able to take that truck out on, you know, that type of emergency would be one thing. But at 2 o'clock in the morning when you've got 2 people on, they've got to be prepared to do whatever needs to be done, you know, as quickly as possible. So if we had more, you know, if we had a larger district or whatever, we probably wouldn't be beating the crap out of it.
Right.
But
And the only reason we have 2 people on is because of our intergovernmental agreement and partnership with our
Right.
neighbors in North Seal Rock Fire
And I want to point out, we have a really good pool of volunteers, and they do show up, and they will get apparatus out the door, but it's not always a guarantee, and we don't always get that information right off the bat. So when it's kind of on the fly and those crews are getting out the door in less than 90 seconds, you know, sometimes that they're out and halfway there before the first person gets to the station. So,
Yeah.
you know, you kind of got to go with what's going to be the best possible, you know, equipment for the worst possible situation.
Well, it sounds like that we should maybe think about looking for another rig to take up some of this slack.
Yeah, I think long-term, we need to come up with some planning goals, but short-term, we may need to look at possibly the Band-Aid, yeah.
So-
And that's kind of where we get into future planning a little bit. So we are about to renew our operational levy for staffing and volunteer programs. That expires on May of 21. Will be our last round for putting that on the ballot before it expires. We submitted the paperwork to go for November's election to do the first round, as we call it, to renew our levy. And I say renew because we're not asking to increase it, we're just trying to maintain what we currently have as far as personnel and programs. Should that not be successful, we still have May of 21 to put it on the ballot and try to get that renewed again. And then once we get past that operational levy and our staffing is secure, then we would need to do some 5-year strategic planning of what are we going to do? Apparatus schedules, buildings, what are we going to do? So that's where we get to the board of directors. What does the fire chief need from you? We need direction for mitigating the issues developed from maintenance, age of the vehicle, the fact that it's a first out vehicle, and you know, what questions or comments do you have regarding the district's future planning from now to at least 22 or further, and general support towards November's local option levy renewal. And then in terms of for chief's recommendations, we sat down and brainstormed and talked about, well, we can either try to replace 7201 with a newer used engine. It kind of set the bar at 2008 or newer, and try to have that hold us over till 23, because even if we were able to do something to secure funding in 22, which would be the next election year that we could try to do something, it would still take a year to get an engine here.
Mhm.
If we ordered it at the beginning of 22, we still wouldn't see it till the beginning of 23.
I like the idea of, you know, purchasing a used rig, good used rig, to carry us through without, you know, ripping up the number one.
Yeah, and I think that the summary of this is that 7201 is not a bad engine.
No.
It's just, it's taken a beating. It's already been through a course at its previous agency. Then it came here, and now we've taken it through a course. We're not trying to say that we need to sell it or get rid of it. We're going to keep it in our inventory. We'd like to move it to the Tidewater station and use it as a reserve, or use it as a first out for Tidewater. It's not, we're definitely not trying to broadcast the message that 7201 is just a worthless.
Oh, no, it's our number one machine.
Well, and when people take station tours and everything, oh my God, look at these pretty fire trucks, they're nice and red, well, that's because the staff takes good care of them. But as I explained to people, I said, our newest truck is 19 years old.
It looks good,
I
too.
said, so, you know, how many 19-year-old school buses are on the road? How many 19-year-old police cars? How many 19-year-old UPS trucks? And that's, the older it gets, as I've learned, the older I get, the more things break down, it seems like.
Yeah. And so our other option is, you know, either we try to come up with a solution to get something else in there until we can secure funding later, or we continue to maintain 7201 and hope for better weather with the mechanical run we've had.
Well, I like the idea of maybe looking at a used rig to help support 7201.
So I'm gonna kind of breeze past the summary slide real quick because I put together, I did some communications with Brindley Mountain, who I've worked with before in the past on procuring vehicles. So I'm gonna kind of go right here to some
We
examples.
anticipated your question.
Yeah. So what I've done is I called up Brindley Mountain and I said, hey, what do you guys have available in your fleet? And what are the costs on those vehicles for 2008 or newer engines? And so this is what they sent me. Of course, a 2009 Ferrera 159 all the way up to a 2011 Ferrera 225. There's a couple of Pierce in there. Pierce Impel, it's 2010 for 249, and then 2008 Pierce Arrow. Now the one at the bottom I kind of put for an example and to kind of prep the board for what vehicle costs are coming to. So this is a engine with a rescue body. So it's a puck just like the two right above it, where the pump is actually installed underneath the vehicle instead of right in the middle. And so that makes more space for equipment. This one's a rescue body, so it has an extra set of compartments on it. Rolled off of Pierce's line, if you will. Custom built for an agency. I'm not going to put their name up there, but this is a 2020 Pierce Velocity, $847,000. Custom chassis, custom built for an agency to dual role as a pumper and a rescue.
What kind of water capacity does something like that have?
I didn't pull the specs on it, I just wanted to get something for comparison price-wise.
And Tim, we're gonna have, we need at least a minimum 750 gallons, and I prefer 1,000 gallons of water on the tank.
Yeah.
That's, it's depending on what's out there. There's been several good used ones that Chief Mason found over the last month, but of course, they don't last long.
Right.
When I talked to Jonathan on the phone, I asked him about how is inflation going in the apparatus sales, and he said it's been consistently for the past few years increasing at 3% each year.
That's not bad.
So what I did was on the right-hand side there, you see a small table. Currently, to get a cookie cutter engine, brand spanking new, would be $543,000. If we waited till 2023 to purchase a brand new engine with the 3% increase each year, it's going to go up to $593,288 at that time. And that's if it stays at 3% and doesn't go higher or lower at this point. So just to kind of, prep the awareness of what it costs to replace an engine, because I think if you went out to the general public and said, hey, how much do you think the fire truck costs, they'd probably say, oh, a couple $100,000, and that's not close.
Well, even our grant people, where we got the grant for our rescue tools, they said, well, Chief, you guys need a new fire truck? Yes, we do. And she said, well, can you get one of those for about $125,000? No, Holly, we can't.
No.
You can equip it, maybe.
Maybe.
But for about, looks like about 250,000, we sure could.
We can get a good used one for that.
So what kind of replacement schedule are the larger departments, Portland, Eugene?
Normally what they do, Tim, they'll keep it on frontline service for 10 years, depending on how busy they are. New York and Chicago, or they're less years than that.
Right.
Frontline for 10 years, reserve for 10 years, and then in surplus them after they're 20 years old.
Really, that long, huh?
Yeah.
So commonly, you'll see where an agency has got a bond, or I know another agency has 2 bonds, and they renew every 10 years. They're 20-year bonds, so they renew every 10 years. And in that bond, of course, it's a lot more vehicles, but they do half of their fleet, and then any building upgrades, repairs, or additions, or anything they need in those bonds. So every 10 years, they're rolling in 50% of their fleet and 50% of their fleet. And so at the end of 20 years, the vehicles that they bought at the beginning of the bond are now being replaced with new ones. And so And once you get into that schedule, it's just a renewal program at that point. You're just saying, oh, we just need to keep our schedule going. We don't need to keep going and asking for more money. Just keep this current money going. So, that's not where we're at.
I can see where a bond would be, you know, a good thing to have, but I think that's later.
Yeah, that's later. I think we need to focus on what are we gonna do for right now.
So let's say it was 250 grand. How would we pay for that?
That would be, well, obviously we don't have it in the bank, so it would have to be like we did our self-contained breathing apparatus. We would have to finance it through like government capital, and I pulled up some numbers on that. But we could finance that for 5 years.
What
Dave.
kind, go ahead.
When we bought the one we're talking about now, the
Right.
one from Pennsylvania, did we do a bond on it, or did we do a finance? I can't remember.
I can't either, right?
I think we did a flex lease on it.
A flex lease?
I think
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I don't, yeah, we didn't
You remember,
offer a
Brett?
bond for equipment.
No, not equipment, or not a bond, I meant,
Yeah.
that,
Yeah, we
we
did.
financed it somewhere.
Right. No, I think we financed it.
And that's what most departments do. I mean, you don't have $250,000, $300,000 sitting around in the bank typically.
No, I didn't realize it was that long ago. I mean,
It doesn't seem like that long.
I know. So it doesn't owe us anything. I mean, it's given us a lot of years. And we'll give more for sure, but
Yeah, like I said, we're not looking to get rid of it. We're just looking to rotate it to Tidewater and slow down its usage to maintain more years out of it.
And part of this, Tim refers to them as the dark days several years ago when the district struggled with funding, and I affectionately call it deferred maintenance. There was a lot of things that were broken that were not fixed properly or fixed at all, and now we're paying the price for that now. Just Brett can attest to our deferred maintenance costs.
So are you looking for an okay? What would you be looking for here?
General direction.
Cash flow first.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
just suggestions or ideas from the board.
Obviously, we're gonna have to look at the financial side first, so.
Yeah, the 250,000 on government capital, they had quoted me, wow,
Sorry.
okay, I'm seeing blue spots before my eyes now. 5 annual payments of $55,291.
You can go ahead and just use the off button now.
The sensor must be in the front because it doesn't like.
And that was from June 28th, but, so I'm not sure what the rates are now.
see it work.
Good enough for now.
I'm sorry, Chief. Go ahead.
But as far as the question, what I'd like from the board is, as you recall, it takes a while to get the paperwork through on the leasing. So what I'd like the board's consideration for is up to $250,000, and so I can start the paperwork with government capital, and then when we do find something, then we can.
Presently, we have to figure out the cash flow.
Well, okay, Brett, the way, I understand what you're saying, but government capital, if we do the paperwork with them, and same way with the SCBA's that we finance, there's no payment due for the first year. So we can map this out, and Jamie and I'll work with Brett on it, but I think that's the first step. If the board's supports that, then we can at least move forward with the paperwork on this, and then we'll be prepared if a truck is available.
Yeah, I'd be in favor of that.
Filling out the paperwork, that doesn't commit us to spending.
No,
Right.
it's all the notarized stuff and the resolutions and everything. If you recall, we went through and with.
Yeah, let's take a closer look at it and see what we might have it costs.
And I can give you.
You know, we've done really well over the years with used equipment.
Well, it's like a new car, if you drive it off the lot, it depreciates.
Right. And even at 1,000 calls a year, we're still, you know, so far below the big departments that we're not gonna beat up a truck all that quickly. You know,
Right.
this one's 19 years old, so. But, for instance, the generator that went out was practically new.
Yeah, it was, had a 12-month warranty and it was 14 months old. But Mr. Knudsen and his were haggling with the company there, trying to get some resolution of that. And
Is there some issue with circulating a new truck into our first out every 5 years? I mean, does that put our firefighters at a disadvantage using a new truck every 5 years?
no, not at all. I mean, but we try to standardize the trucks, so every compartment, no matter what truck you go to, the medical compartment's here, the hose appliance compartment's here, the tools are on a particular spot.
I think financially wise, rotating a truck out every 10 years and using it to an outline station, probably reasonably managed, but there's got to be some planning and some development for that.
And that's something that, you know, we talked about our goal setting meetings and everything. This kind of ties right into that, because in the past, we'd never, if we needed fire hose, we'd just go buy it. So we've set up, since I've been here, you know, we've got a hose replacement schedule. Every year we budget for it and we buy a certain amount of hose and a certain amount of protective turnout gear and those sorts of things. So, and that now we're to the big ticket items, which are the expensive things.
Well, I'd say my thoughts on it would be, I wouldn't want to spend any more than about $250,000, probably something even less, but let's see what you can come up with. Bring it back to us and give us our options.
We're gonna give them permission to go ahead and start the paperwork, and with the finance people, so that, not committing to it, but at least get the process started, so
Yeah.
that if something comes
Yeah,
up.
that sounds
Because
reasonable.
if we can do that, Peter, then, like I said, the paperwork, and that's the red tape part, that's what takes the longest. But then Chief Mason has found some that they pop up and said, oh, Chief, look at this one looks good, and they call about it 2 days later and it's gone. Because it's,
Right.
and these particular ones, Jamie, there is a warranty available on them.
The ones that come from Running Mountains, they're a major apparatus vendor in the U.S. And the ones that were listed there, and they have more, those are just examples. They do a full preventative maintenance check-on before they release them to us. It comes with a 1-year major component warranty on the vehicle, and they'll deliver it to here for part of the project.
Where are they located?
You're in Alabama.
Brett, do you think we can fit $40,000 a year into the budget at this point?
No.
No, I don't think so.
So
Well,
It's
and-
not on the, what budget line would you take it off of? I mean, there isn't,
That's pretty much it.
there isn't
There's a
one.
few things we could trim. We might be able to get to 40, but we need to be putting money
Right.
away at the same time.
And
Spending your reserves. There's also expenses on the truck, on those new trucks too. It's
Yeah.
Like you get them and the expenses magically disappear.
yeah,
Things break and you've got startup costs and you've got all kinds of things involved in that. You know, lettering and all kinds of-
and we have a levy renewal coming up
Right.
in November with, you know, another one in May. If this one isn't successful, I'm not sure that timing-wise,
Well, I'm trying to remember when our
I'm-
equipment levy comes up too. I think we're at
It's 22.
Yeah, 22, 23, I think.
Yeah.
No, I didn't think we were
And,
that.
and it's a 10-year levy.
That's a 10-year,
Right.
yeah, so,
And it's 25 cents, I believe.
Yeah, 22, 23 is the last year.
But I mean, so then, but at some point we have to replace 7201. I mean, at some point we have to have a plan to replace it. I mean, we can't just ride it until it dies, right? I mean,
right.
it seems like the numbers aren't gonna add up here pretty soon. So at some point we've got to develop a plan that's going to either pass a bond or we got to find money somewhere, right? I mean, we can't have one or the other. I mean, or sell a couple pieces and maybe start getting towards it. I mean, we've got 125 in the equipment reserve account, right? I mean,
Yeah, but we're gonna eat up a lot of that this year.
are we?
Budget year.
Is
Yeah.
a lot of that gotten eaten up?
So I'm wondering if we want to work on the plan a little bit first before we start, initiating the paperwork on the financing. I'm just,
Yeah.
Well,
those
the
things
financing,
have
the
paperwork.
paperwork doesn't commit you
Right.
to anything. It's just,
no, but there are some, for instance, this is, the above proposal is, subject to change and it's valid for 14 days from the date of the proposal and so on, it's gonna change. And that was done back in June.
right.
But overall, I think, I don't know.
I mean, where else can we find the funds from? I mean, is there anywhere else to get money
Well,
from?
you can increase the next levy. The 25%.
The equipment, yeah.
The equipment
that's what I was
levy.
thinking.
You
Reserve.
have to get it approved and voted on.
Yeah, you have to get it approved.
So that's a year
But I
away.
think, and I think too, that if we had a plan that we could present to the voters that said,
Right.
this is what we plan on doing with
The
the
money, right.
increase, that might not be a bad
Yeah, I agree.
avenue to explore.
Real quick, just for your guys' consideration, because we know we're working on all these things right now.
Yeah.
We are having a real serious hard start issue, that there's times in 2 o'clock in the morning, you go to start it, you leave the glow plug run, let it do its checks, and it won't start. You shut it off, turn it back on, let the glow plugs do their thing, and it'll then come alive. I'm pretty positive the injectors and glow plugs are going south in it. I think from just the hours of runtime on it, from being on a construction fire, you can't look at mileage on a fire engine, that's what it is. And the glow plugs, I just looked them up to replace them on that engine in order, without labor, about $7 grand. So,
But once they're replaced,
the engine, the diesel part of an engine, as far as the cylinder walls, as long as the oil's been changed regularly and so on and so forth, the main structure of the engine is actually pretty well.
I'm-
It's all the little components.
I know, but I'm not averse to, replacing components that will then keep us going for some time.
Well, we'd have to
You know,
replace those
I-
anyways if we're keeping 7201, right? I mean,
Right, well, eventually, but if it goes to Tidewater, then we don't have to worry about that particular maintenance cost, so.
yeah.
Well, we still want it to start in Tidewater.
Right, it still starts, I'm not saying it's not starting, it's
Uh-huh.
just being really hard to start. So the more time, more hours that are on
Right.
that engine, and the more that injectors that they go, yeah.
So it sounds like that's a repair that should probably be
Right.
scheduled
That's
pretty
why I
soon.
bring it up, so that you guys can keep that in your mind,
Mhm.
that we may get to a point that it's gonna need to happen.
Yeah, but that's $7,000, not $250,000.
No, I agree, I agree.
Or probably 14,000 once you get done with labor.
Well, yeah,
No.
yeah.
Those darn mechanics, I tell you.
Yeah, I
Dave.
know.
But I think we need to move forward.
So, yeah, we're
Plan.
open for suggestions, that's,
Yeah, I think we need to develop a plan, but at this point, let's keep 7201 maintained.
If it needs to be-
That's my suggestion.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, we have to replace it in the next couple of years, I mean, at some point, right? I mean, we're getting pretty close to 20 years. On anything's pretty gnarly, not, let alone something that you want to make sure is gonna run when you most need it. I mean,
Right.
I think we have to get something, I mean, I would like to get something, I didn't realize it was 19 years old, so I mean, I would like to see a plan where we can get something in the next year, whether that be selling 7201 so we can buy something else in the interim until we can start looking at some bond measures, increases, or whatever financially sound, but, I mean, I don't know. I want it to make financial sense, and we have to make financial sense, right? But we also have to buy a new engine, I think, within the next year at some point, so. I mean, that's my personal opinion, I don't know.
Right.
So should we be looking at, we want to do a workshop to really dive into just that?
It's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Anything at this point to reduce the load on 7201.
Yeah.
We want to maybe look at giving staff a little bit of time to,
Oh, yeah.
dig into it and put together numbers, and I'm thinking maybe October.
I don't know if we need to wait that long.
No, I don't know.
Well, I mean, we're almost through August right now. September, I don't know what do you guys think?
How much time do you need?
How much time would you need to put together a workshop?
A week, couple of weeks, depending on people's schedules. Yeah, but get 7, 8 people on the same schedule, it's pretty hard. You see that with the meetings that I did, the oversight meetings.
Yeah, from our staff standpoint, in 2 weeks, we can be able to have answers for any questions that you have and present some options to you.
We want to say maybe for the next board meeting, we could schedule a workshop.
Well, it'd be nice to do it not on a board meeting night, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
What are Monday nights like for everyone?
I'm all right.
Monday nights aren't
I
usually.
can't do the first Monday of the month, but other than that, I'm good.
I'm thinking, well, that's only 11 days, or no, where am I?
Yeah, it's only 11 days.
In September, so you can't do the first Monday, which would be
Which would be
September
Labor Day.
7th. That's Labor Day.
I don't want to have a meeting on Labor Day, I'm
No,
sorry.
how
I
about
want some
14th?
commitment, Rita.
How about September 14th?
September 14th? Let me
What,
check
about
the
3 or 4
calendar.
days before a board meeting?
Well, no, the board meeting would be the following week, wouldn't it?
Let's see, we've got the 3rd, the 10th, now it would be that week, if it's
Oh,
the
okay.
17th, yeah.
Fine by me, but.
Is that?
So that'd be fine by me. I mean, if we have that and then we have even only a couple of days before the board meeting, that would be nice, because then we can make a decision pretty quick after that.
September, what did you say, Tim?
September 14th? 5:30?
On Friday? Or did you want Thursday?
What's that?
On September 14th.
September 14th.
Okay, gotcha.
And then the board meeting will be on the 17th.
Okay.
5:30?
Sure.
5:30.
I like 5:30.
Meeting calendars out there on the 14th.
For you? Okay.
Okay, workshop, that'll be fine. I think in the meantime, could be suggested that use our big one for just the real emergencies, where you really need it, and the ones that are not, then use something else. I mean, I'm with you, I want to see this truck last the longest time possible.
Like I said, that's what we try to do. If we have the staffing available, we can send 2 people in a truck or in the ambulance, we do that.
Yeah, yeah. Okay?
Okay.
Five 5:30, no?
Yeah.
Are we still in new business?
Yes. Although that was the only thing on new business, so. Although is this volunteer stipend?
Yeah, that's, we budgeted for this. As the board recalls, special districts advised us to do the way we had reimbursed volunteers in the past.
Right.
And so what we've done is run this through legal counsel, and so it's all perfectly legal as we understand it, and special districts advisors. It's a stipend program for people that do stand by or work a shift as a duty officer or cover at the fire station. And then it's not just warm bodies, they have to meet certain criteria. They have to be at least firefighter 1, be checked off to drive and operate apparatus, be a minimum of an EMR, preferably an EMT.
Okay, this has already been reviewed by FDAO?
Yes. And it's mirrored off of some other departments that have gone through the evaluation too. They had similar challenges with the stipend programs, and so this follows the letter of the law.
I like it. I mean,
I
what
do
saw-
too. It's, you know, if this is a way for us to be able to express our appreciation of the volunteers in a legal manner
Right.
without getting everybody in trouble.
Okay, Chief Mason, you have anything else you want to chime in on?
Yeah, so we ran this through multiple levels, and it originated from the Fire Chief Council. It was a 360 task force that they hit up 2 years back. And so I sent all that paperwork over to legal, and SDA will review it, send them all of our paperwork. So it has to be in our policy of how we handle the financials of it. That's what you guys have in front of you. There is a district guideline on what the instructions to use the personnel who are pulling substances do on a strict basis. That's inside of our guidelines manual. And then we've created the forms to track it, and we have the login process through our signature training program to track the hours to make sure that we're staying in confirmation of purpose. And so Wendy and myself are setting up the program to make sure we've got appropriate tracking, to make sure that we don't go over any of the hour levels that we're not allowed to go over.
Brett, how does this,
We won't even come close with 1,012 a year.
how does this fit into our budget?
Haven't a clue, haven't seen it.
Yeah, we budgeted to cover this, and now we're starting July 1st, so.
Starting July 1st?
I think there's 30,000 budgeted
Okay, okay.
for that.
Yeah, we anticipated this, but it's just taken a while to get it pulled together and make sure it did pass the legal smell test.
And
Haven't seen it.
So,
how do the volunteers feel about it? Have they? I was gonna say, I mean, I'm, you know, is it adequate, I guess, is, you know.
The way it's set up, I would think so. It's kind of a general consensus for the rest of the group that, yeah, all of us, you know, we appreciate the, like, the cell phone reimbursement, I think, right now, but we have something a little extra because, like, me and Rick, pulling duty shifts right now, doing 3 days instead of 2. It's nice to have something to say, hey, you know, you're at 3.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
As long as it obviously keeps within the district, within legal guidelines, you know, not want to call any of that, but from the sound of everything else, Chief Mason has definitely put that in the budget.
Well, and I do kind of, I like the way the, you know, the policy is basically, it's not a ironclad guarantee because it's only, you know, as long as it fits within our budget, so, you know, it's not a,
Yeah, it's not only as long as it fits within the budget, because we could have something catastrophic happen that we can deliver funds to, but it also fits within the limitations of the stipend program that the Fire Chief Council has put forth. So if somebody is
abusing it or,
using it, kind of abusing the system, if you will, which would be shame on us for not catching it.
Yeah.
And their hours were to skyrocket and then PERS would start to get involved, you know, those parameters are set in there to make sure that we don't hit those. So if a person's at November and they're
And I'm assuming that they can sign some sort of acknowledgement that they understand those rules or whatever.
We also do a W-4, and we have a form that has to be filled out for every single individual shift.
Okay,
To track not only the shift, but also for Wendy and myself to be tracking at the end of the month of how many hours per call
right.
we're approving.
And it's, we've got controls in place, so Rita needs to make a house payment. She can't say, okay, I'm gonna work 20 shifts in a row because I need some extra money. And we're not gonna have 12 people on one day and nobody on the next
Right,
5 days. So
yeah.
we've got that set up as well.
Can we set it up so that it's reviewed on, say, a yearly basis, to see if it still fits within our
Yeah,
guidelines?
we'll be doing it on a monthly basis.
Oh, you will?
Yeah, just to
Okay.
make sure that it's doing what we expected to do.
Good.
Yeah, we did literally do monthly reports because we're going to be calculating the program on a monthly basis.
And these figures might adjust then accordingly?
The figures have to stay the same. What we're monitoring is number of hours collected on emergencies and then number of shifts overall.
Yeah.
So the number, we can't change the numbers, so the numbers have been very well results.
Would be good, at least for a few months, you know, assuming that everybody wants to put it into place, to see those reports on a monthly basis, just to kind of give us an idea of how it's
Yeah,
going.
we can include that in your
Yeah.
board package.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I'd like to see that.
I see it as a win-win for the district and the volunteers because as a training chief, by setting a level of expectation for certification to do certain shifts, it kind of dangles the carrot out there for a person to say, hey, I want to be part of that program, so I've got to go out and get this level of training so that I can participate in that program. And so it kind of gets them where they need to be.
Right.
And then in return, the district ends up with a third person on the engine, you know, for the.
And also rewards them in some manner for having to go through all that extra training as well, so.
Well,
If I can make up one comment just quickly, you mentioned how the volunteers feel about it.
Mhm.
We've been doing this since May. We've never paid anything.
Mhm.
So it's not about the money.
Well, no, I didn't mean it like that. I didn't mean it like that, Rick. I was just, you know, I was assuming that, you know, anything is better than nothing. I was just kind of trying to get a, you know, a sense of, if this was just, you know, spitting on the fire kind of thing, or if this truly was something that would be acceptable to the volunteers.
I would hope it would be acceptable. Right now, there's 2 of us doing it because,
Right,
you know, I know we have a couple firefighters that come in and go on shifts. But I mentioned to you when we did our report,
Right.
we don't
Yeah.
have volunteers.
right.
What about was it 2 or 3 people that just passed the firefighter 1 a few months ago?
One of them is on calls, and she's been serving quite well, and the other one is on an ambulance almost every night.
And the third one moved out of state
Yeah,
because she couldn't find a job here.
yeah,
They're serving when they can.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
it's tough. I mean, and this is just hopefully one more way we can generate some interest as well.
Yeah, well, I look at it, I mean, no one's gonna get rich doing this,
No.
but they're gonna know we appreciate them,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of the whole point, so.
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the stipend plan as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I'm assuming we'll get a policy number and all that kind of stuff on it eventually.
Yeah, those are just quick questions.
Right.
Until it was approved, and we could actually establish those numbers.
Well, that's good work on this.
Yes.
I tell you guys put a lot of time in it. Okay, chief's report.
Well, thank you. As always, every Wednesday is our statewide COVID-19 call-in meetings. I send out what I get from them to the board and the staff. July 2nd, we had hosted another Red Cross blood drive, and they were maxed out on their attendees. July 3rd, of course, we had to cancel our annual fireworks event. We're still working with WBCC and Seal Rock and Yachats on trying to streamline our dispatching. As you hear on, there's 15 sets of tones that go off for certain calls, and so we're trying to work this out so that one South County all call for any call that Seal Rock and Central Coast goes on, and then any structure fires for, but that's a work in progress with our dispatch center.
Are you doing a similar thing with Yachats now? Responding? I'm hearing a lot of Walport getting toned down to
Yeah,
Yachats.
it was at the request, and honestly, when I first started here, Tim, when Frankie and Chief Sakaris and I got together and met, I said, we used to always go on every motor vehicle crash in Yachats and every CPR call, and then all of a sudden it stopped and nobody really knew why. And so I think some of it was operator error or some new dispatchers at WBCC, so that's why you're hearing.
Thank you, Rick.
You guys have a good night.
Thank you, Rick.
Chief,
And what,
go ahead.
what we'd rather do is, and I told Frankie, I said, we don't want, if you got to crash up, way out of town, south of Yachats, call us and we'll start that way, and if you don't need us, turn us around, so. Go ahead, Peter.
Chief, have you got any information about the merger with Seal Rock? Any new information?
Well, we're still in the infancy of this. I mean, we have our weekly meetings with Chief Sakaris, our oversight committee met, and we're getting, we call in for their board meetings, Chief Mason and I do. Although last week, we're down 10 miles south of Yachats on a wildland fire.
Oh, yeah.
But, so it's working well. We hear positive responses, and that this structure fire over in the Bayshore area is a prime example of all the teams working well together.
Do you think it would be possible that we could put this issue onto the May ballot?
No, we're not even that close to. There's a lot more to it. It starts out as the intergovernmental agreement, and then we work on, okay, do we look at a fire authority where everybody maintains their identity, and then you just work together as we are now, or because if you start to merge and consolidate into one district, then it takes several different ballot issues and a lot of public education. So that's we're not there yet. To me, we got the training wheels on now and trying it out, and then we can move forward. And we want to make sure it's done right.
Merger would be the best thing for both departments.
Yeah, there's
Anything that we can do to speed this up.
Oh, yeah, well, and it's, we're light years ahead of where we were. I mean, it wasn't that many years ago, some of our partners didn't even want to work with us.
Well, if there's anything I can do in that department, you just say so.
Let's see. On the 14th, of course, everybody's doing meetings remotely, and it's actually kind of, at first I didn't like it, but it's kind of handy. I can call into a meeting and listen to what's going on and still multitask and do stuff at my desk. So called in for the Lincoln County Fire Defense Board meeting, and also for a WBCC Fire and EMS Committee meeting. This is a shout out to my wife's back from Missouri. On July 19th, we celebrated our 18th wedding anniversary, and as I always say, it was my longest marriage yet. Hi, Sherry. Let's see, the IGA, as the board knows, we had our first intergovernmental or oversight committee meeting on the 16th. Doing our weekly staff meetings, and then Chief Sakaris. Everybody's busy, so we have Monday morning meetings set up, but if we can't meet in person, we're at least sometime during that week, we're having a telephone meeting or getting together. As the board is aware, Karen Applin, I want to thank Karen for all her hard work while she was here, and we we posted it internally and had a more than qualified applicant. I would like to recognize Wendy Rush, who's our new administrative assistant. I think everybody knows Wendy.
Welcome aboard.
Glad to have you.
Glad to be aboard.
Yeah, she's already given me my marching orders, so,
You need somebody to do that.
yeah, thanks, Peter. Let's see. Call, again, monthly meetings, Fire Defense Board, Oregon Fire Defense Board chiefs call in, updates on wildfires, COVID-19 things. I also want to give a shout out to Ruth Stoll. I think the board that saw some pictures we took at Ruth's retirement. We presented her with a little framed certificate and a flower arrangement, and thanked her for it. Way before I got here, she was doing all the alterations and sewing patches, never charged the district a dime for any of that. So thank you, Ruth, for everything.
You've done a lot of service for us.
Oh, absolutely. She was tickled that we showed up.
Yeah.
And I said, well, Ruth, she said, you come here and give me a hug. I said, yes, ma'am. I don't care about that COVID. And I also sent you pictures. 2:54 in the morning, I got a phone call from Lieutenant Johnson that someone had hit our sign out, our mobile sign that sets out from the fire station. So we got pictures of that. The crew cut the fenders off and things so it could actually move. And
I saw the pictures of that. Looks like $1 million.
it does. JB, John Dunn, one of our volunteers, he doesn't want to be a firefighter, but he's got some talents. He said, I can do some things for you. So he towed it to his shop up in Tidewater, and it comes back and looks brand new. All
It looks great.
Polished and buffed. He found some new fenders for it and new jacks for it. So we're very happy with that.
Will you be able to put messages onto there now easily?
Yes, better than before. And so he's had to replace all the plexiglass that was there, and what the parts that hold the letters were breaking. So he redid all that. And also him and Eric Knutson are putting LED lighting on the inside with a solar charge panel, so it'll be illuminated at night.
Oh, good.
Good.
Yeah, those plastic strips that hold the
Letters.
letters have a very limited lifetime on the coast.
Yeah.
I don't know how many times we replaced the one on the side of the building over there.
They just flex out from the sun?
They get real brittle and they break loose from where they're attached at the bottom, and the letters just fall through.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Let's see, weekly farmers market's doing well. Charlie Lasecki and his team that assist him, and our CERT members are staffing the booth consistently, and we're out of smoke detectors now. As the board recalls, the Red Cross provides those free of charge to us to install, but because of the COVID, they're asking us not to go to residences and do that. And so they're not sending out any more smoke detectors for the time being. But we're still having our presence at the Walport Farmers Market and getting a lot of positive feedback from people. As was mentioned, all the initial paperwork was filed with Lincoln County before the deadline for the cereal levy, and of course I had to tweak the verbiage several times because Dana said, okay, chief, too many words. Oh my God, okay. So after the third or fourth rewrite, we got it taken care of, and got the confirmation from him that it was filed on time. Now we've got a couple more deadlines, and one is for the board message that was sent
You
out.
go in the voter's pamphlet, you mean?
The what?
The one that goes in the voter's pamphlet?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is what was done last time. And so we'll do a rewrite or an update on this.
Chief, I also wanted to ask you about this. Will it have this explanation to the voters? Will it have an explanation of that this is a renewal and not?
Yes, that was a challenge for us, Peter, because originally we were told you cannot say anything about renewal, you can't, I said, well, to me, a renewal is a heck of a lot easier to get past than when people think it's a brand new. But in talking to the county clerk's office, no, you absolutely can say renewal, and so that's,
So it's not more money, it's the same money?
it's the same money.
amount,
Yeah. Yeah, good.
And to me, that's an easier sell.
So I do see some of the language that needs to be changed, but overall.
One other thing too, Chief, is it been mentioned in there, will it be mentioned about the benefits of the insurance because of the training and?
Yes, and we're gonna do a press release on that with our ISO rating going down and what the, the approximate numbers of savings on your homeowner's insurance will be.
I don't think many people know about that.
No, we haven't done the press release. It took effect July 1st, but we've been kind of waiting till we got all this filed, and then that'll be part of our marketing for, it won't be in the ballot.
I'm sorry, I gotta get out of here, I got a little family thing going on.
Yep,
so.
thanks, Kevin, see you.
You want this?
But, that'll be part of it when we campaign for the tax levy renewal, when I go to the chamber, if we're allowed to have chamber meetings and the Lions Club and when we have town hall meetings, we'll explain, we'll have a PowerPoint, I always want to say slide presentation. We'll have a PowerPoint presentation that shows, here's what we've done in the last 5 years with your tax dollars and explain to them. And
If you get into those kinds of things, I'd be glad to go with you and, help along with it, because anything we can do to explain to the people that they're getting a better deal.
And absolutely, and so it'll be all hands on deck for the campaign.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, we should probably look into what the rules and regulations might be for electronic media, because, given the fact that we're currently in the COVID restrictions, I'm not sure we're going to have a whole lot of opportunity in open meetings. But there may be other ways that we can get the word out through,
Right.
Through social media or
And
whatever.
then there's, with the election laws and things.
Right, but that's what I mean, we need to work within those
I can't, as a fire chief,
parameters.
said, please vote for this. I can't go out and do that, but I can say, here's what your district does, here's what we've done in the last 5 years.
Mhm.
You may not be able to, but I can.
Yeah,
No, you can't.
but no.
Not as a board member?
Yeah, not as a board member.
No,
Really?
No. But we do have, I've already laid some groundwork, we've got some people that are very happy with our performance over the last 5 years and that are more than willing to take the lead and help market this.
Okay, good, good.
Well, you can't say I'm a board member, please vote for it.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Let's see. We're back to engine 7201. Well, it wasn't now. It was another engine that caused some structural damage. You saw some pictures of that. And I'm working with the city manager, and the crews have got it stabilized so the door opens, the overhead door, and now just to try to determine what needs to be done, if we need a structural engineer to look at it, or if
That's an insurance issue with the city?
well, yeah, the city owns that building. Our vehicle insurance will cover a certain amount of damage. So I'm working with Mr. Cutter, the city manager,
Okay.
to see.
letting the insurance companies duke it out.
Yeah, the insurance companies will end up fighting it out in the long term, so.
Okay.
And you remember we received a grant, Chief Mason wrote for Sletch Tribal for personal protective equipment.
It was about $9,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a 50/50 grant, so it was $18,000 worth of personal protective equipment, and we already have the check for $9,000 from them.
All right.
And we had protective clothing ordered, the end of May? And with the promise it'll be here in 60 days, and then the latest so I was hesitant we have no leverage if we go ahead, you can pay it before the end of the budget year. Well, I don't want to pay for it till we get it. So we have received some of it, we paid for that. The rest of it, then we were notified it might be September, or October before we receive it. So what I'm going to ask the board to do is, I'll submit a budget adjustment to, because we didn't pay for it out of last budget year, to, reallocate or allocate additional funds for our protective clothing account once we start getting this handled.
Okay.
Is this the same outfit that took forever to deliver the turnouts?
Affirmative, and they since reassigned the sales person we had because it was all his fault, and now they're blaming it on COVID,
Yeah,
like everybody is.
maybe in the market for new suppliers.
Yeah. And got a couple things for executive session. That's it.
Okay.
Okay.
You got anything? I don't have anything. Do we have any questions come in from the online?
No.
No?
Actually, I just wanted to make a comment. We did respond to the 10-mile fire. We ended up with one of our brush engines and one of our cutters up there. And then I went up there and ended up as an ICS component for the call. And we ended up initially doing structural protection to protect the houses up in that area. And then as ODF and US Forest Service arrived, we teamed up with them to come up with a plan where all the structural crews ended up working the lumber mill while the forest crew worked the log. So it was good teamwork, a lot of work. We were really close to air assets, and we had to do a lot of creative water supply, would you say? So it was good work, good effort, good fire, and also Super Squad Battle was there too.
Oh, they did come up.
They did.
Oh, good.
They were signed with us on the lumber mill.
Good.
They verified that we got that.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah.
What's the distance, Chief Mason, from fire truck here to 10 Mile up the river? What was the time roughly?
Up the river.
Oh,
Verification.
going up 10 Mile when you
Oh,
responded to
good.
that fire at the lumber mill.
It was 3 miles up 10 Mile Road on 101.
Right.
It's a gravel road. And so you couldn't really go too fast on there, but we had a pretty good response on it. I ended up waiting initially for my response to make sure we had coverage here and also to make sure that they actually needed. And when I kind of heard how it was being set up, and I figured, hey, they need somebody to go up there and kind of help with ICS. So that's why I took off and up there, called the chief, and said, hey, I'm going to get up there, I'll come back, they don't need me. And I got up there and ended up running most of the
Yeah.
with the yacht.
So Jamie went up there and I came into the station and we had volunteers at the station, so it was worked out well.
Good coverage.
To provide coverage for our area too.
Right. Who was first on the scene?
Yachts.
From what I understand, it was a good job. I mean, that's all I've heard is that excellent.
Of course, it had already spread up the hillside, and the hillside was a pretty significant grade. But we were able to knock down its I won't say motivation, but
Momentum.
Forward progress.
it's forward progress. Yeah, at one point, they were thought that it was 50 to 100 acres. By the time we actually got a better look at it, it was only 15 to 20 acres.
Yeah, that's great. Great.
Still a good sized fire.
It is. And it could have been a lot
Most
worse.
of the growth was due to limited access. It couldn't just get right to
Yeah.
the fire. The US Forest Service guys had to cut a line to the fire with chainsaws and hammers just to get access.
Wow.
It was a lot of work.
And if you've been watching the news, everything's dry. Oregon has sent resources down to California.
I saw that, yeah.
They asked if Lincoln County had any available resources, and that was right after the 10-mile fire, said, yeah, we probably better keep what we've got here, at least in the state.
Right.
They,
Of course,
So
then we
we're
get
watching
evenings
it.
like this, you know.
yeah, but so Central Oregon's getting a lot of lightning strikes that we're watching, and so.
Do we have any rigs that we can send to California, make some money on?
We do and we don't. I mean, we have to be able to staff it too, and then they're gone for a minimum of 10 days.
And, you know, helping California is good. I mean, you know, and we've done it in the past, but, you know, we've also got our own state to worry about
Oh,
too.
absolutely.
I'm still just worried about protecting our own districts.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah,
As much as I'd like to make money, but.
yeah.
I don't have anything to add, so we will go into executive session and kick that down.